This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Jeff Vogel, Plant Protection and Weed Control Program Manager with the Kansas Department of Agriculture, is joining us. And for soybean growers, Jeff, one of the big things they're probably looking at, especially to help disease control out in their fields, is looking at crop rotation, and they're going to have to start planning for that for 2016.
That's correct. Rotation is a very important part of an integrated pest management program to manage plant diseases. But really to get the most benefit out of rotation, there are some additional considerations to think about. Rotation, at least for part of disease management, works with diseases that are soil-borne or build up inoculum in the soil under continuous cropping situations. But it does not work with diseases that are blown up from the south. Example of that, a common one, is the wheat leaf rust that get blown up from the south as wheat matures. Rotation would not be able to manage that type of disease if you were considering it.
Soybean rust would probably be another example as well?
Most definitely. When we think about rotation, we must also start thinking about rotating into a crop that is not related. For example, if you were in soybeans, looking at a non-legume type crop, or kind of thinking about something that is unrelated. Grain sorghum to forage sorghum would not be advisable if you're looking at that, but it just has to be a different type crop species so that the same disease will not serve as a host for both species.
So let's turn that around the other way. Would that kind of work the same way if next year you want to put a field into soybeans, on how you approach that?
If you're considering soybean rotation into soybeans, there's a couple soil-borne diseases you could consider. One of them is soybean cyst nematode, but really looking at the literature, multiple years of non-soybean crops really provides the best benefit as far as reducing the populations in the field. Phytophthora root rot is something. If you rotating into soybeans, if you didn't have soybeans in the previous year, you could help manage that disease.
The bottom line for that Kansas farmer, really need to be proactive in how they look at this?
Most definitely. I think planning ahead and thinking about rotation is important to manage diseases, but I do want to step back and say, be careful with some rotations. For example, corn followed by wheat sometimes can increase the head scab incidence because the same disease is present in both crops.
All right, Jeff, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Jeff Vogel, Plant Protection and Weed Control Program Manager with the Kansas Department of Agriculture. He's been our guest on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.